This week on the Virtual Skeptics. Bob is not here. I'm not reading his line. Eve is ending war for us all. Tim is looking for a topic in all the wrong places, and I'm your host, Brian Gregory. And I'm flabbergasted. This is our 170th show.
Holy mackerel.
I know. We started our first show in 2000. Actually, it was 2011. Wow. 2011, in August 15th, 2011. So we've
2012.
I think it's 2011.
No.
Yeah.
Eve is always right.
Eve is always right.
It was much
to Bob's chagrin. Eve is always right.
That's true. That much I know is true.
But that has been true in my experience.
2012.
Well, I just know because Bob and I had just moved to Wisconsin. And that was 2012.
Oh, there you go.
Well, the point is that we've been doing this for almost 4 years, and you think that I would find some kind of comedic timing somewhere by now, and I haven't. So there you go. Welcome to the show, everyone. We have a small panel. Oh, they're not small, but the panel is small. And let me just
that
read.
Big on your screen.
That's true. We are small as well, depending on the size of your resolution on your computer or your phone. Maybe you're watching your phone. Then we're really small.
You can watch it on your phone. I've done it.
Yep. So if you're watching on your phone, use a magnifying glass. And this right here, this is Eve Siebert, editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities, and contributor to Skepticality and Insight at skeptic.com, and Tim Farley, blogger at SkepTools and Insight at skeptic.com, Skepticality contributor, creator of What's the Harm, and former JRF fellow. Now, neither of their bios is small, that's for sure. So there you go. No? No. Okay.
We could make it smaller.
Yeah, we could.
Print it in smaller text, so it's harder for you to read.
Put a really small print on the back of one of those Flying Jenny stamps.
Oh, there you go.
It's really tiny. Put it on display in a museum because I like that kind of stuff. Okay, so trivia question. Yeah, we have a trivia question every week. Every week that we do a show, because I get to caveat that because we realize even though we've done 170 shows, we don't do one every single week. So it doesn't. Okay, go ahead. Tim's going to do a trivia question.
This is an obscure piece of trivia that probably no one will get, but it amused me because I was digging around on Wikipedia reading articles about from the early 20th century regarding skepticism. And I discovered that there is a connection between the old movies regarding two weird characters called Ma and Pa Kettle. I have never seen any of these movies. I've just heard the name. It's like a weird meme in American media history that the Ma and Pa Kettle were these characters in these old movies. I don't know, 6 or 10 or 15 movies they did in the 40s and 50s. There is a connection between the Ma and Pa Kettle movies and skepticism, early skepticism in the early 20th century. What is that connection? See if you can figure it out.
I have no idea. I did find that there is quite a bit of clips of Ma and Pa Kettle on YouTube from 1953 doing doing math comedy. There you go.
Yep.
Which should be fun if you want to check that out. Yay! What is the connection?
All right.
I don't know. The other thing, if you're watching and you want to figure out what's on the screen behind me, I would appreciate it because that's also a thing we'll give you credit for if you do it. And by the way, if you're going to respond to that and the trivia question, or if you want to get involved in the show somehow, you can, because this is live, you can tweet with Virtual Skeptics hashtag, or you can comment on the YouTube broadcast page thingy, or you can ask us a question with the Q&A app on Google+. And if we answer it, we'll tag the video so other people can benefit from our glorious answers. which I'm overstating, I guess. So since we've got a short panel and a lot of time to fill, and Eve is the most prepared of us, I am going to ask her to go first.
Should actually, before we forget it, should we mention the news about next week?
Do you want to mention that now?
Wait
Hold
a minute.
it. Wait. We have an interloper.
Uh-oh. There's an interloper.
Interloper Bob.
Who is that man?
I
don't
never seen
know.
him before.
What is that strange headboard behind him?
Yeah.
I have acquired a halo.
Oh.
What's going on?
Dubious
What's
going on?
Bob on a half shell.
So we're assuming that because you're here, you have something really important to say.
You're all wrong, Click.
Yeah, I'm just going to be skeptical of the skeptics for a while.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Because guess what Eve's about to talk about?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, then, let's hear it.
Okay, but as I was going to say, just to let everyone know, and we'll try to remember to say this again.
Oh, hold on. I'm a Roman centurion. No?
There won't be a show next week.
Yeah,
That's right.
I was going to include that in the announcements, but
Okay,
we can.
we can do that then too.
Yes. But it's nice that we have it now, and we remind people later in case that they fall asleep. And
Yeah.
at least during my segment, I don't know.
All right, everyone ready? Are we sitting comfortably?
No.
All right, then we'll begin. Okay, last weekend was the Northeast Conference on Science and Skepticism, aka Nexus.
Nexus.
Yeah.
One of the speakers was a science. That'd be
I'm
weird.
sure he had sinuses.
A science journalist named
snotty.
named John Horgan. Horgan is best known for writing the book The End of Science, in which he argues, according to Wikipedia, because I did a lot of research on this, that science will make no new revolutionary discoveries like theories of evolution, the Big Bang, or relativity. Instead, it will just refine and extend existing scientific theories.
Wait. I've heard this before. Didn't in the 50s they say there was going to be nothing new?
I think they've always said that.
Yeah.
But whatever. Then he followed that up with The Undiscovered Mind, How the Human Brain Defies Replication, Medication, and Explanation, in which he criticized, among other things, neuroscience and psychiatry with the vigor of a Scientologist. Now my text is being laggy. There we go. This weekend, he came to bury skepticism, not to praise it.
Sorry, I like that a lot.
Oh, thank you. It's your Roman thing.
It is.
According to him, MC Jamie Ian Swiss would not allow him to take questions, so he posted his talk, Dear Skeptics, in quotation marks, bash homeopathy and Bigfoot less, mammograms and war more, as a Scientific American blog. And it seems to me we almost, to critique this, we almost don't have to go past the title. But I'm going to.
Good, because I want to hear more.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, nor were any of us. So he says, when people like this, meaning big S skeptics, get together, they become tribal. And
That's the same term that Scotty Roberts, I think it's Scotty Roberts used, wasn't it?
Probably. Unlike his tribe, because they're not tribal. But anyway, he put tribal in italics, so there you go. They become tribal. They pat each other on the back and tell each other how smart they are compared to those outside the tribe. But belonging to a tribe makes you dumber. So he wants skeptics to be skeptical of other skeptics and science. Now, I suppose some skeptics can come off as smug or superior. Not me, obviously. I'm better than that. And en masse, particularly at a conference, perhaps they can seem tribal. But any group can be tribal under certain circumstances. It's sort of what humans do. But he also seems unaware of, frankly, how fragmented and divided skepticism has become, and it's split to some extent over the issues he's actually discussing. On top of that, he does not need a tribe to seem smug and self-satisfied. He doesn't need a tribe to pat him on the back. He's got two hands he can use to do that for himself.
At least one. Because you might have the other one in your pocket, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So he doesn't think we should be focusing.
That was an Alanis Morissette reference.
Yeah.
That's true. I have one hand in my pocket and the other's doing something that you think is going to rhyme, but actually it doesn't.
Yes. That's the song. I think that's the official title.
It should be. Also, there should be a song that she should sing a song called Isn't It Ironic That None of the Things in the Song Are Irony?
I think my theory is that's the irony in the song.
No, I don't think so. You're giving her way too much credit.
Yeah.
And there's one bit of irony. The man of her dreams, who's already married, right? That's irony. Everything else is just a shitty coincidence.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, she is a... I was going to say she's American, but she's Canadian, isn't she?
Yeah.
She reeks of back bacon.
Can't blame us
Did
for
you just
her.
say she reeks of back bacon?
He did.
How do you know, Bob?
And that never happened. Anyway, Horgan doesn't think we should be focusing on theism, ghosts, heaven, ESP, astrology, homeopathy, global warming, vaccines, GMOs, or, God forbid, Bigfoot. He says we end up preaching to the choir and are ignored by believers. Now, there is a certain amount of truth in that, or at least that's a concern that outreach is a concern for skeptics and has been for as long as skeptics have existed, probably, and certainly something that we talk about among ourselves. And we probably aren't going to reach most dyed-in-the-wool believers, whatever they're believers in. But we may be able to reach people who are on the fence, say parents who want to do what's best for their children, but they've heard such bad things about vaccines and autism, and they just don't know what to think. Anyway, Horgan believes all these topics are what he calls soft targets. So, what are the hard topics that skeptics should be skeptical about instead? Well, we should turn our sights to his personal pet hates, obviously. He divides these into, because, you know, what he thinks is important, and what we think is important is stupid.
Oh, so he's a skeptic.
Yeah. Don't tell him that, or at least don't say it with a big S. Now, he divides these topics into several categories: physics, medicine, biology, and war. To begin with, he has issues with some modern physics, like string theory and multiverses. He says, the theories aren't falsifiable, which makes them pseudoscientific, like astrology and Freudian psychoanalysis. Right, no. Now, Steve Novella has done a much better job than I ever could dealing with Horgan's various and sundry and multiple mistakes. He points out that Horgan doesn't really seem to understand skepticism or the sciences he's criticizing. Police are coming. But briefly, non-falsifiability...
You'll never take me alive, come on!
Non-falsifiability is one of the hallmarks of pseudoscience, but it's not the only one. Was that you, Bob?
That's Chicago PD is what that is. That's the buzz. They're probably chasing gangsters.
Yeah. So non-falsifiability.
Very nice.
It's a symptom of pseudoscience, but it's not the only one, nor is falsifiability the only thing that makes something science.
Right.
String theory and multiverses aren't falsifiable yet, but that doesn't mean that they never will be. And they
some
really
versions are falsifiable, but that's,
yeah. And but regardless, they really aren't analogous to astrology. There's a lot more substance to them and a lot more math, as I understand it. Then Horgan moves on to medicine. He talks about the over-reliance on diagnostic tests, such as mammograms, which aren't always reliable, and over-treatment based on that testing. He notes that, and I quote, Europeans have lower cancer mortality rates than Americans.
Morality rate?
Yeah, which means that either we're more virtuous or less virtuous, or they also have better proofreading rates. I'm not sure which. Now, another thing Novella mentions is that skeptics have written and talked about all the topics Horgan brings up. In the case of problems in the medical field, Novella specifically links to a whole bunch of science-based medicine posts. Now, would anyone like to guess why that might be a particularly fruitful place to find information on medical topics? Anyone?
What, science-based medicine?
Yes.
Because it's science-based medicine?
Yes, and they're doctors.
And they're doctors. Yes, doctors.
I mean,
and pharmacists.
And a pharmacist.
Yeah, people in the medical field.
And a lawyer.
And one lawyer.
And a lawyer.
Yeah, one lawyer. At least one.
Which, you know, is...
But mostly doctors.
Yeah. But, yeah, mostly people in the medical field. So, I mean, if I want to
know stuff.
Yeah. If I want to know the pros and cons of mammography, I think I'm going to pay more attention to David Gorski, who is a surgical oncologist specializing in breast cancer, than John Horgan, who isn't.
Yes.
Most skeptics don't have the required expertise to speak authoritatively on the subjects Horgan wants them to concern themselves with, nor, as far as I can tell, does Horgan. Now, personally,
I was wondering if you were going to reference Massimo Pellucci's talk about, was it 2 years ago? I guess it was. No, he's a philosopher of science, and does a nice talk about knowing your domain. And
And
probably unfortunate wording on my part, but
anyway, I'm a medievalist. I'm not going to be writing about string theory, or at least not in any remotely sensible way. But if someone uses Beowulf to support young Earth creationism, or the Vinland sagas and Beowulf to support Bigfoot, I'm on it.
Or the existence of trolls.
Yeah.
They're real.
Yeah, totally. Horgan
Just
also...
read the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Horgan's article. Horgan also talks about psychotropic drugs, which are evil and cause mental illness, and genetics, particularly linking single genes to complex traits and disorders. And I don't know any skeptic who really believes that homosexuality, alcoholism, schizophrenia, etc., can be entirely explained by a single gene each. But, you know, whatever. And then there's war.
Genes don't work that way.
Yeah. Because, of course, there's war. He thinks we should be concentrating our efforts at ending war.
War?
Yeah. Huh.
What is it good
good
for?
he sets his sights high.
Yeah. Now, many years ago,
that's the strongest argument right there. War, what is it good for?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
But,
Good God.
hold on. There's some technological developments that come out of it that you can use for either good or for evil, because science...
True.
Yes.
And the development of robotic prosthetics has accelerated quite a bit.
Oh my
since we've been
gosh!
involved
You think of the leaps and bounds it's grown. Thanks, war.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Do that again. Do that again. No.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. That was for the screenshot.
Many years ago, I saw a short PBS filler piece about bumper stickers. I know this is where the hell am I going with this? But in one segment, people talked about bumper stickers that they like and ones they hate. And one guy was talking about seeing a free Tibet bumper sticker. And he says, well, I have to pick up milk and dog food, but then after that, yeah, I guess I'll go free Tibet. And I think the same program actually mentioned the Visualize World Peace bumper stickers, along with the punny parody Visualize World Peas, which I think the latter was actually used to emphasize the sort of inanity of the former, that, you know, just put enough world peace bumper stickers on your cars and there you go.
Yep.
Problem solved. War and U.S. militarism are important issues. If I could end war by writing a blog post, I'd do it. It might take me a while, and I'd probably put it off for a while, but I'd do it. The point is, I can't. Could we do more? Could we become more active in peaceful protest? I suppose, but I don't see what that has to do with skepticism per se. That's skepticism plus. And if you want to do it, great. But that goes beyond.
Sorry, I'm waiting for skepticism plus plus, where you can actually use object
just leave
it. But if you want to do it, great. But that goes beyond the bounds of skepticism and critical thinking. Everyone has interests and passions outside skepticism. And you can bring the rigor of critical thinking to these other interests. You probably should. But if everyone who has ever attended a skeptical conference got together and decided to end war, we wouldn't end war. We would break up into factions and start a skeptic war. That's what we do.
We're good at that.
Yeah.
Yes, we're damn good at that. Yes.
And for certain topics, as for certain topics being too trivial for skeptics to continue to pursue, the term Bigfoot, again, this isn't new. The term Bigfoot skepticism has been used by skeptics and erstwhile self-identified skeptics for some time now. Daniel Loxton wrote a spirited defense of these topics on the Insight blog, which everyone should read. Even before the term Bigfoot skeptics was coined, certain topics have been accused of triviality. Loxton says, I've spent much of my career confronting the common argument that skeptics should not perform the service skeptics do best, but instead should tackle other subjects we may not be qualified to address. You have special expertise in X, but I think X is trivial. Why don't you specialize in Y? Because I think Y is important. Nobody ever says this to Shakespeare scholars or doctors or plumbers. Seemingly everyone says it to skeptics.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he's wrong about Shakespeare scholars. People tell Shakespeare scholars what to talk about all the time. They should talk about the Shakespeare authorship question. Plus, a lot of people think English literature is trivial, unimportant, and effete, feckless, and dull. Blah, 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 POMO, yada, 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 radical feminism. And a lot of people in skepticism, including big names like Steven Pinker, Lawrence Krauss, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Jerry Coyne, etc., denigrate the humanities all the damn time without, as far as I can tell, actually understanding them. But I digress.
Are you going to get some Massimo Pigliucci love? Because, I mean, at least he does the philosophy side of things. So.
Yeah. Well, he was, when we did a panel on skepticism and the humanities at DragonCon, he was on the panel.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. So
he had the best accent.
He does.
He had as many degrees as everybody else
put together,
on the stage. It was impressive.
Combined, you're saying.
Yeah, no, seriously, he did.
Yeah, it was 3 PhDs.
Yep. And he's such a nice guy. He's like, he'll hang out and talk to you. Yeah. And he's like very real and
huge brain. Yeah, he's great.
And then that brain he carries with him everywhere. So it's
in a bag. It's pretty off-putting.
Not a bag.
Eve, ghosts.
I know. I was just gonna say that. Did you notice the ghost?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh wait.
Eve, come home.
Were there orbs?
Yeah. So, okay, Bigfoot is less important than ending war. Fine. So is giving an obnoxious talk bashing skeptics at a skeptics conference. Bigfoot himself isn't really the point. It's about the process of critical thinking, looking at where
Yeah.
people make mistakes, how those mistakes get disseminated, and how they can be corrected. In general terms, the process is the same regardless of the topic. It's just people have expertise in different areas and interests in different areas, and you know what? That's fine. So, if you can end war and cancer with your skepticism, go for it. I'm going to get back to the burning question of whether there were Viking warrior women. You do what you want.
On the moon.
Yeah.
On the moon? Oh.
Yeah. I've always thought
He just didn't know.
exactly what you said in there, that if your goal is to teach people how to think better so they don't believe in dumb things, whether it be cancer screening that they shouldn't get or homeopathy, the basic skills that you need to teach them are the same. You know, logical fallacies, value of evidence, what is an expert, how to vet information that you're being presented with. It's all about critical thinking. And one of the values of doing things like Bigfoot is precisely because nobody gives a shit about them. So you're not going to be emotionally invested in the discussion as you work through the example. And you can work through real live examples of, logical fallacies and all that stuff with Bigfoot stuff, and hopefully teach people how to reason and weigh scientific evidence and educate people. Plus, it's fun. Bigfoot is fun, you know, a giant hairy beast. It's goofy, and it's a nice hook to get people's attention. But the other aspect I have about this, and I didn't read his entire post, I read some of the responses to it, but one of the things that bugs me about this is I believe he mentioned homeopathy, did he not, as one of the soft talkers?
Yeah.
I have a whole page of people who've been killed by relying on homeopathy.
I know somebody who died hoaxing Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, there is that, but you know, and I'm not saying millions of people die from homeopathy, but people do die from relying on homeopathy and herbal remedies and naturopaths and all this stuff that's been debunked hundreds of years ago.
And Walgreens sells it, and CVS sells it, and sometimes it's not really labeled clearly.
But yeah, and the final thing I would say is that, you know, that the whole stupid false dichotomy or whatever you want to put it of, you know, don't do your topics, do my topic. If you follow that out to its logical conclusion, we should figure out what the most important thing is that we should solve, and we should all be working on that to the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah, it's similar to me, like someone saying, you know, why are you giving to charity X or putting so much effort into cause Y when there's babies with cancer,
right,
starving.
Why are you rescuing dogs when there's when the Boko Haram girls haven't been found
yet?
We
have so many problems here on Earth. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I want to say is that there have been 2 guys killed by robots,
different interests,
and it's a really important topic to me. Okay.
So what you're saying is the robot apocalypse is starting slow. It's very slow.
Slow, apparently.
Well, very much like
it's more psychological warfare
and fluoride in the water. It's a slow kill. Yeah. Very, very slow kill.
Yep. So, let's see. I'm looking for comments that I can mention on the show. There's some interesting comments I find interesting, but I'm going to leave out of this recording that's going to last all time right now. There are a couple of good jokes that Nathan Miller, a longtime friend of the show, has been making jokes just for me tonight. So I like the fact that he commented on my plus comment. So, Skeptic has object-oriented factions, I guess. Never mind.
All right.
Yes. I thought it was funny. Are we going to talk more about this? Because we need to talk more about this because it's only 8:30.
I
This
can
is
do
Bob's
it.
turn.
Let's not go all the way to 9:30 like we did last week.
No, yeah.
That was impressive.
I want to listen to what Halo Boy has to say.
Yeah.
Hi.
Come on.
So
Hi.
it's been kind of a strange week in the world of Brzezinski. Currently, I'm in Chicago, researching at the American Medical Association's.
Mr. Head is. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying.
I'm Jan in the Pan. If you know what that means, you're in my club. So I'm at the Historical Health Fraud Archive. It's a 20th century. It's a repository of 20th century quackery and advertisements. A lot of correspondence with the AMA about different quacky people. It's been amazing. I opened up a box and found, things that have graced the cover of books I own. It's just that awesome, and it's probably the one that they used to get the scan, honestly. So it's this amazing collection. And while I've been away, people have been very busy. Brzezinski's hearings have wrapped up in Austin. There's a process. If you look at other similar cases, there'll be back and forth, like 2 or 3 more rounds of back and forth of following the preliminary ruling, and then it will go to the Texas Medical Board. While this was happening, there was a kid in, just 20-year-old guy in Rhode Island, who just the other day, news started popping up that the FDA had closed Brzezinski's trials again because of conditions at the manufacturing plant. And if you look at the, I'm not surprised. But this kid was on the treatment for like 11 days, and then the FDA said, no, you can't be on the treatment. The trial is closed.
Right.
And the family, of course, freaked out. And, it's really upsetting. And you understand their frustration, right? I mean, they thought they were on the right track. They said he has a DIPG, which is diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, which is a brainstem tumor that is almost invariably fatal. And he had problems seeing, and he was having problems swallowing. That's brainstem stuff right there. And they said that after a couple of after the treatment started, his ability to see improved. That he was no longer cross-eyed. There may be reasons for this. I've seen precedent where Brzezinski was, where the FDA pointed out that he was giving patients 64 times the expected amount of anti-inflammatory steroids in the past. That might have something to do with it. And usually their patients are on steroids of some sort. So that's a real possibility here, and I haven't. But the news coverage so far has been mostly uncritical. The family went straight to the law, went to the courts. I saw them when they started appealing to Senator Reid of Rhode Island and Senator Whitehouse, which is his real name. Whitehouse.
I got
whatever.
Keep going.
Aptonym, except it would be Senator Capitol Building. And then the Brzezinski patient group is starting to push again for another type of hearing that helped Brzezinski so much last time, the FDA Oversight Committee. So this is all starting up again. Yesterday morning, the lawyers for Neil Fuchone, the kid, asked for a restraining order against the FDA, which was granted by the afternoon. So the trials, I guess, are back open. This is a 14-day opening. He's back on the trials as of today. So there's that. That's what's going on right now. So there is a new battle brewing. This time it's in Rhode Island. It was in like New Hampshire last time was the main source. Senators Ayotte and Shaheen lobbied very strongly on behalf of the constituent with DIPG, and she died.
Yeah.
But they got the trials pried open again. They're trying to do this again, and as much as it hurts, and as badly as you genuinely feel for the family, this shit has to end at some point. You know.
I feel for the family, but I want the family to spend their money on something that has a chance of working, not pour it down a rat hole for false hope.
There's another trial down the road at MD Anderson for DIPG.
Sure.
There's a new treatment for brain cancers at Columbia that might, I don't know if it's been DIPG. I think it's astrocytoma, but they've actually had really good results. It's a modified polio virus.
Oh yeah.
So there are things happening.
Cool stuff where they reprogram viruses to go in and fight the cancer. Yeah.
So this stuff is happening, and has a better chance and has backing, and real publications behind it, So it's very frustrating to see this, and I worry that it would, what's the point of having an FDA if politicians and judges can interfere with what they're doing? I mean, I get checks and balances and everything, and that's totally appropriate. But with medical stuff, that's a different matter.
Yeah.
How many times? Do you know how many times this has happened? You mentioned 2. Has it happened multiple other times with Brzezinski?
Every time that there is another challenge, every time he's in court, he spends more time in court than he does in hospitals.
Yeah, but I mean specifically the go to the senator goes to FDA, the kid gets back on the study.
As far as I know, 3 times. As far as I know, 3 times. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the senator did talk to the head of the FDA.
At some point, it'll be useful to start pointing out to the senators, hey guys, this has happened 3 times before, and all 3 times the kid ends up dead. And no science is coming out of this.
You're absolutely right.
Where's the paper? Where's the paper showing the results? And where's the kid that survived? Show me either of those 2 things. You could tolerate a bunch of dead kids if at least you got some science out of it.
Well, you have.
If they already had it's not good for anybody to die ever, but these kids have a death sentence just based on their diagnosis. And so get them into a study, and then maybe there's some good can come out of the fact that they're going to die. But no good is coming out of it because he never publishes the damn study.
He publishes,
and the stuff he does publish is junk.
Exactly. And so it's frustrating as hell. And so this is just another chapter in the saga. And I will be following it as I have, and Eve can't wait for me to get home so I can talk to her about it. Or not, she seems to be frozen.
I think that she's fine with the cats.
She's comforting the cat.
Yeah. The ghost cat.
That's Gavin.
The ghost cat, yeah, exactly.
And jerk.
It was, in fact, he who opened the door.
Houdini wins
See,
again.
there's always an explanation.
Yeah. Sometimes he needs cuddles rather urgently.
Mm.
Does he actually do the doorknobs?
No, it just doesn't latch.
Yeah.
That would be slick, though.
No, he just sort of barrels through.
So after that wonderfully uplifting story from Bob, Tim, you got something you want to talk about?
Oh, is it my turn?
You
I thought
want to?
it might be time for robot apocalypse.
I'm saving it for because mine's gonna be quick. So.
Okay. I just have a few quick things, kind of follow-ups on things I've talked about many times before, things that have happened in the last week. One is we've been talking about the David Gorski smear campaign where the woos are, going crazy, trying to ruin David Gorski's career.
Live.
Yeah.
And a lot of it got triggered off of some blog posts. He's written about a ton of different things, but the most recent triggering was some blog posts about the movie Vaxxed, which is a anti-vaccine conspiracy theory, CDC whistleblower thing. You all know what it is. It's Andrew Wakefield's movie about the CDC is covering up evidence, and it's all based on very thin stuff out of a little statistical thing that was done in one study. They took some statements out of context from a guy who worked at CDC, and they're calling him the whistleblower, and it's baloney. Well, anyway, as you know,
he is very pissed off about that.
Right.
Very pissed off.
And
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing this against his will. And they came and protested here a few months ago, and I went and filmed some of the protesters and observed what they were doing. They were, very peaceful. I think I showed it on the pictures on the show. But anyway, as is typical of the fashion, Wikipedia is very science-based, and so the Wikipedia article for the Vaxxed movie covers the critique quite widely, and a lot of the anger has come because a lot of the early critiques of the science being presented in the movie were from Gorski's blog, because he's the one who's covered the CDC whistleblower story in such detail and understands the math involved in the paper and why it's nonsense.
Yeah.
And he's just picked it apart in detail, so he's a good expert to quote. Well, they of course want to attack him as an expert. Why are you quoting this on this oncologist to comment on, first of all, commenting on a movie? You should have someone who's a movie reviewer. So people have been appearing at the Vaxxed article, screaming and yelling, and then they focused on Gorski and whatnot. Yeah. So anyway, the latest on this saga, if you show my first slide, is the Vaxxed group, like many outfits, have a mailing list.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, I don't know. You need to refresh.
Yep.
They have a mailing list, and they run it out of where you can sign up to help them out. And this is a lightly edited copy of their email that went on Saturday. Anybody can sign up to this list. There's a public,
Wikipedia?
That's a term that's commonly used for people who edit Wikipedia. But that's what they're saying. I don't know if you can see it above our heads here, but they're saying they sent out an email and they said, hey, are there any Wikipedians out there? We're looking for registered Wikipedians who can help polish a few articles. Now, there's a couple interesting things about this.
Is that like polishing turd?
Yeah, well, it's not entirely clear what articles they mean or what they mean by polish. But first of all, recruiting people to do stuff like this is explicitly against Wikipedia rules. This is called meat puppetry. Essentially you're recruiting people to be your proxies. So by definition, they have a conflict of interest because they're acting on your behalf. And if they don't disclose the conflict of interest, that's another rule violation. But a lot of things on Wikipedia are done by voting. So if you go out and get all your friends to jump in on an article, and then people, something comes up to a vote and all your friends vote, that is not taken, they take a very dim view of that on Wikipedia. So this is a public mailing list that anybody can sign up to get the emails from. So I reported them. So the folks on Wikipedia who know about these things now know about this email and know to keep an eye on. And frankly, they didn't really need to be told this, because if 6 or 7 editors were to suddenly show up on Vaxxed, and start editing it.
Yeah.
It sticks out like a sore thumb. And these folks always do. I spend a ton of time editing Wikipedia, and I edit all sorts of different things on Wikipedia. I've written a whole blog post about how I take vandalism out of Dr. Oz's article all the time. Somebody put some weird piece of vandalism in his article just the other day, and I took it out. Yeah, and I edit stuff about Atlanta and my hometown and things I know about from work. I edit, because that's how you learn to edit Wikipedia. These folks are always so obsessed with whatever their pet topic is that they zoom right to the article they want to fix, and they start working on it, and that's all they touch. And I tell you, it sticks out like a sore thumb when you do that, folks. People notice it, and there's a term for that. It's called an SPA, a single-purpose account. You have been here. You are here just to do one thing, edit that one article. And they don't like that on Wikipedia. They like people who are there to make Wikipedia better. And the other thing about that is if you spend some time editing other articles and actually learn how Wikipedia works, you have a much better chance of getting stuff put into the favorite article that is your favorite, that you want to polish. So anyway, it's not likely to have any success, and people are looking out for the people who watch Skeptic Topics. It's called the Fringe Theories Board. Have been notified, so everybody's keeping an eye out. So it's unlikely that anything will come of this. And frankly, anybody who hangs out on Wikipedia for a great amount of time, who is philosophically aligned with the people who make Vaxxed, would probably get frustrated or bored or blocked eventually, just because their edits are not going to get in because Wikipedia is science-based. The second thing I wanted to talk about is something that I'm not going to link to in the show notes because I never link to Mike Adams, but on a related note, Mike Adams, who, and this is my next slide, had this article today on his website, and he's occasionally mentioned me alongside his screeds about Gorski, and sort of implied that he, in amongst his vendetta against Gorski, that he was also investigating Susan Gerbic and me. So I've been keeping an eye on his website just to see if he makes good on that. And I noticed this article where he was launching new websites, and of course he's got this giant, kingdom of different websites, different topics. He's got his own wiki, and he's got fitness, and he's got glyphosate. That's
glyphosate. That's how you say that. I was like,
that's Roundup. It's the herbicide that that Monsanto made seeds to go with. Seeds that were resistant to glyphosate, and it's the master Monsanto conspiracy theory that their GMOs are just so they can sell more glyphosate, which is bullshit because it's out of. Anyway, go to one of the good GM sites and they'll explain why it's all bullshit. Well, anyway, what I wanted to point out to you is that there's an interesting subtlety to the fact that he's launching all these websites, including glyphosate.news. Did you know there was a .news now? NEWS? Yeah. Womensfitnessfocus.com, mensfitnessfocus.com, supplementsreports.com, trump.news, clinton.news, whitehouse.news, alternativenews.com, and he's got one of his older sites, goodgopher.com, and those are all mentioned in this article. Here's the thing. why does he have a million different websites, right? What is the purpose of that, as opposed to just having different topic areas on the one site? It's a trick. It is and, you know, there's a certain value in having a different label name at the top, so you can, you know, make the site look like it's focused on that area when it's really part of a large, you know, galaxy of sites. But the other thing that goes on with these sites is if you poke around on these sites, you don't have to look very long on any of these sites before you find a link that goes back to Natural News, which is his main site and which is where his store is. And that is completely a way to scheme your Google ranking. And this is something that Mike Adams has done. Huh?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought somebody said something. And it dates from the early days of Google, because the original PageRank algorithm had to do with how many people, you know, which sites link to you and who do you link to, and they sort of draw a graph. And if a lot of sites link to you, then obviously you must be a very interesting site. And that's why, for instance, Wikipedia articles always show up in the top of the rankings, because everybody links to Wikipedia. So it has millions of inbound links. So if you want to advertise something, you need more links to your website. Well, they need to come from other domains. So Mike Adams and these other spammers and online marketers will create hundreds of other websites and interlink them all in a way, and they try to do it to fool Google. Now, Google has gotten really good at finding these unnatural link farms and shutting them down and minimizing their effect on the rankings. So I don't know how much effect this actually has, but like, for instance, if you go to glyphosate news, I believe nearly all, well, one of the news sites definitely, Alternative News, I think it was, almost every link on the front page goes to naturalnews.com, or at least most of the ones I saw. And the ones that don't go to other weird websites that either belong to him or his other conspiracy theory. NewsTarget.com is another website of his and stuff. And it's all a way to scam Google and market your stuff, and it's all a way to get people back to his natural news sites. So they'll buy his crap, his fish oil pills and whatever other junk that he's selling. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I think we've mentioned it on the show before, maybe last week. I had been working on a new Wikipedia article for a old-timey, long-dead skeptic hero who was forgotten for years and years, by the name of Rose Mackenberg. And if you follow my skeptic history today, today is actually the 90th anniversary of the day she testified in Congress with Houdini, which, boy, the actual transcript of the House testimony with everything she said is online. It's in the University of Wisconsin library, and there's a website called Hathi Trust that has digitized a lot of different stuff, but they've digitized a ton of stuff up at University of Wisconsin. So they have their copy digitized, and just reading through that is just nutty. I don't know what the heck the rules was with Congress, but she came up to testify against mediums, and the committee let the two mediums that she was going to testify sit right next to her. So essentially they were sitting there staring daggers at her, and then every time she said something that they objected to, they jumped up out of their seats and started yelling. And a lot of it doesn't come across really well in the transcript, but there are reports from the time that literally one of the committee meetings broke down into quote-unquote a fracas, and they had to call the police. They had to adjourn for the day, call the police, and clear the room because people were trying to beat up Houdini and yelling, "Liar, liar," and all this stuff. It's like, all right, everybody out of the committee room. And it's like, holy crap! I've never, it was a nutty time in 1926 in Washington D.C. But boy, these people were.
Yeah, you did that. You do that nowadays. You end up contempt of court or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You get,
So anyway,
I
Rose
mean,
Mackenberg
control
was
yourself.
Houdini's investigator, and she investigated hundreds or thousands of false mediums. She never found a medium that wasn't using some sort of trick. She was single all her life, and yet mediums told her about hundreds of different husbands that she had. She's a really fascinating character, and in her later years, she went on a tour of the country speaking to civic groups and just explaining why psychics were full of crap, and demonstrating the tricks that they use, because she had learned them all from Houdini, and then also from attending all these different psychics. And she, in the early 50s, she even appeared on TV. But she never had a Wikipedia article. There was very little written about her in the press. There was like a very old two-page Skeptical Inquirer article about her from the 90s. And Daniel Loxton had written a nice piece in Junior Skeptic a couple years ago, but not a ton about her. So I decided she needed to be memorialized. And so now she's got a Wikipedia article, and it may not be perfect yet, but it's out there, and we'll make it better.
Wow.
I'm trying to find a photo that I can use. The problem is most of the photos of her date from the 30s and 40s, so they're still under copyright. Yeah. And Wikipedia is quite adamant that you have to have photos that can be released either as public domain or you have the photographer's permission. And you can't find the photographer to get permission of a 1942 photo. The guy's probably dead. So it's actually kind of easier to write about really, really old characters, write about somebody who was active in like the 1905, because those pictures are absolutely out of copyright, so you can just grab whatever you want and throw it right in there. So no photo, but lots of details, and in typical Wikipedia fashion, I have footnoted it to within an inch of its life. So there's a ton of stuff down in the footnotes where you can click the links, and you can click a link and get right to that testimony on Hathi Trust and read for yourself exactly what Rose said when she was testifying in May 1926.
Very cool, very cool. And I'm assuming the link's going to be in the show notes.
Yeah, that link will be in the show notes.
Awesome.
No natural news links.
Natural news, no. Thanks, Tim. Really quick, I'm going to do this. Which one? That one. Yep, that thing. Da, 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 da. So, as we were discussing, I don't know if we discussed it on the show. I don't remember now. Were we discussing this before the show, maybe? I don't know. There's been a lot of development of these great big pattern matching machines that have been running a lot of neat stuff. Now, I'm sure that some of you, if not all of you, but some of you have definitely seen the Jeopardy episodes with the Watson IBM computer winning Jeopardy. If you haven't, I think there are at least clips online. Go find it out. It's pretty cool. There's a computer out there that beats smart guys at Jeopardy.
Yep.
It's pretty impressive. So obviously IBM has been trying to market this thing because they want to make money, and they talked about various different projects like feeding it with medical records and feeding it with other stuff so that people can use it as a resource to find and explain information. And it does a pretty impressive job with that. And on that note, there's at least one company. I believe it's more than one law firm, but I'm waiting for my link to finally load here. There is at least one law firm that has come out saying that they've hired Ross, which is a version of Watson that has been fed with lots and lots of law history. And acts as a partner, not really a partner, but another lawyer in the firm. So they use it to, they're using it for their, for only one part of their law firm, and I just had it right here. I think it's for their, it's financial. It is for bankruptcy law. And what you can do is feed the details of your case into it, and it will find references to relevant cases, and it will
Nice.
explain why they're relevant. Which I don't know the detail of that or how smooth that is, but I'm sure that it's good enough. That it's very useful because they're paying for it, and also if any new law is relevant to your case, it'll find that and notify you of this. And that to me sounds like, oh my God, they're going to save a ton of money in interns. That's the joke. Yeah. So it's interesting. I have no idea how much this costs for them, and I have really no idea how well it works. But it's interesting that it works enough for them to be willing to pay for this, and they're not only the only firm that is willing to do this. And this is exactly the kind of thing that Watson was developed for. Taking large sets of historical or just large sets of data and being able to do intelligent real language queries. So they just ask it in natural language, like I'd be asking you, and it comes back with answers, and it has a level of confidence on those answers, so it can actually communicate how sure it is, unlike humans, and it can somewhat explain how relevant it is, which is interesting. It's very interesting, and I think this is a step toward having really useful, really useful data machines for hard problems. Also, that happened a couple weeks ago, and also a couple weeks ago. Wow, there's lots of noise going on upstairs. Ignore the upstairs noise. A couple weeks ago, there's a guy. I'm looking the guy's name up because for some reason my iPad is being really slow. It's fighting me on this. I blame the computers and the AI. There is a guy who is teaching an artificial intelligence course, as an online course, at Georgia Institute of Technology.
Tech.
Yeah.
Right here in Atlanta.
That's right. And the students have been interacting with. I mean, the way that college classes are typically structured is you have an instructor or a professor or someone with qualification who teaches the class, and there are a number. There's one or more teaching assistants that help interact with the class, especially if it's a large class, because the class may have a lot of questions or interaction with the professor that he doesn't have time for, and simple questions can be fielded by it's a grad student or a couple of grad students or somebody who knows the area they're talking about. And apparently for this particular class, one of the TAs, the teaching assistants, was performing better than all the other ones, to the point that people were noticing and wanted to. I mean, one person made a comment about recommending it as the best TA of the year. The name of this TA is Jill Watson. And as it turns out, let's see, what's this guy's name? Professor Ashok Goel. I seriously doubt I'm saying that correctly. Apparently he'd used, and it's not clear how much he did this himself, but apparently he used the available API, the programming interface, to Watson to create a TA, teacher assistant interface that allowed students to email it, and it would respond back with intelligent and appropriate answers. The only comment and the only thought that it might not be, because no one of the students actually thought this was an AI, because why would it be an AI? But also, there was one comment about it being very professional in its answers, and it's usually that's the kind of answers you get from a TA because they're just trying to do their job. But most people who responded were flabbergasted. I had no idea, and that kind of thing. Which, who knows? Because you're not expecting it to be. You already have this preconception it's going to be human on the other end. So you don't know if that's coloring their decision. But it's pretty cool, and it's another example of how computers, or at least these large pattern recognition machines that are being built and are putting them on the network, are going to solve problems like this.
Yeah, as I understood it, what they had was they had a previous online forum that they used for the TAs to answer questions. So they had all the stuff from previous instances of the class. So they had questions that had been answered before.
Yep.
So they could take all that text and shovel it into Watson and then mark it up. There's a process with Watson where you kind of help teach it. Okay, this is an important concept. This is the opposite of that. You know, You kind of literally mark the text, and help it learn what the important things are in the text, and then it can consume the rest of the text and generate related answers to related questions that are not worded exactly the same way.
But it's interesting that I mean, there are other machines other companies that are working on the same kind of problem, and it's the same kind of machines that are feeding, or at least driving, a Siri and I'm gonna not say her name because she's Amazon Echo and various machines that do natural language recognition, and they do query searching and things like that. So
now the Google just announced a new one today.
That's true.
Google Assistant, I think. It doesn't have a cool name, but it's just like
you're talking about
like Alexa, huh?
You're talking about Allo? Or
Allo? Yeah, Allo is one implementation of it, but the assistant is basically a technology like Alexa, and it has that same characteristic that Alexa has, where you can have multiple sentences with it. You can have an entire conversation. Hey Alexa, who was the director of this movie? What year was he born? And you can hey Alexa, I want to make a restaurant reservation. Okay, what restaurant? And then you can say you can actually have a conversation with her, and she understands the context. And there's another one. The people who built Siri left Apple and have created a new one called Viv. So that Microsoft's got Cortana, Amazon's got Alexa, Google's got their thing, which doesn't have a name. Apple has Siri. There's this new one called Viv. So there's like 5 or 6 of these smart assistants now out there. So it's going to be an interesting.
No, they all female. They are all.
Siri can be male. You can switch Siri to male, to a male voice. Maybe you can switch the other ones.
I don't think any of them are genitals, so never mind. I guess you'd have to ask them if they're male or female. Hang on, Alexa, are you male or female? She says she's female in character. Because you have to be, you have to be sensitive to the gender issues. So.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Siri definitely has a male voice.
Yeah, Siri does have.
The wrong bathroom beat the shit out of her. As I understand what you're supposed to do.
I seriously doubt she has that problem.
Yeah, it could be.
Although she does have heat. Never mind. That's right. They give off heat. Okay, so that was interesting, and I'm glad that Alexa was in the conversation as well, because she watches me constantly.
Hey Siri, are you male or female?
I don't have a gender. Right now, I'm speaking with a male voice, but you can change that in settings.
She's English now.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's another option. You can select British English, and Siri will speak with a British accent.
Do you have to use a British accent to speak to it? Because I noticed the Australian one always understands me. Because I love the Australian voice, but
that's what Siri sounds like if you switch to male.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Anything on the tweets? Those graphics are horrendous.
Yeah, they are. They are horrendous graphics.
Horrendous graphics. So I think we should just wrap up. I guess we lost Bob because his ran out.
Crappy hotel Wi-Fi.
We've got the trivia question. Did anybody even? I didn't see any responses. Did you see any responses?
Someone got close. Pierre on YouTube
Pierre Cloutier
was
I would say
super
that every-
close. He said, I think the actress who played Ma Kettle was what we would all call today a skeptic. That's effectively the correct answer. What I was going for is the actress who played Ma Kettle is the key element. Her husband, she was married prior to making the Ma and Pa Kettle's movies, because this character died back in 1935. She was married to a fellow by the name of Stanley Lefevre Krebs, who was one of the many folks in the early 1900s like Houdini and Rose Mackenberg and Joseph Rinn, who went around debunking the many spirit mediums who were out there. And Krebs wrote a book or two about the tricks that the mediums used and went around debunking them. And he was married to the actress who played Ma Kettle.
Huh, that's fascinating. The name is familiar, but I suspect it's probably a different Krebs that I'm remembering.
You're
you
thinking
might be
Gladys
thinking of-
Krebs.
Yeah, probably.
Or Maynard G. Krebs.
Yeah. Huh, that's still interesting. I wouldn't mind Googling that for a few hours. Cool. So we'll give the credit to Pierre.
Pierre gets credit for that.
Just because he also gave me another opportunity to say his name probably incorrectly. I don't know. He hasn't been able to correct me on that. I'm going to say it that way until I'm corrected. And the video's behind me. Let's see. Nathan Miller has he's the only guest that I saw, and he did. I mean, one of them is pretty obvious. The one on my right side.
This book is fighting me.
Yeah, is the trailer for the movie that just came out, Civil War, Captain America: Civil War. Captain America: Civil War. And I saw it a couple of times now, and I enjoyed it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not the best Marvel movie I've seen, but it's pretty good. And
a lot of it was filmed in Atlanta, believe it or not.
Everything's filmed in Atlanta.
Yeah. And Toronto or something. I don't know. Canada and
it was
Canada.
Like most big movies. It was filmed in a lot of places, but the scenes that were in the African city.
Oh yeah.
Strangely enough, those were filmed in Atlanta.
Was it filmed at the CDC building?
No, that was yeah. Don't get me started about fake CDC buildings.
That's funny. The other one, which Nathan tried to guess. Now he actually came pretty darn close, and I was going for the joke. He guessed that it was a Ken Burns Civil War documentary, and it's not Ken Burns, but it is a History Channel documentary on American Civil War, which I thought was funny because this is
a History Channel
Civil War, and this
documentary.
Is yes. And
there were probably aliens in it, I'm assuming.
And I was trying to find the Ken Burns one, couldn't, so I threw that one up. So there you go, because I wanted the whole thing. So I'll give at least 2/3 credit to Nathan for going that far. There we go. Last but not least, we've got book time and a few announcements. Let's see here. The 50th annual Balticon here in Baltimore is May 27th to 30th, Memorial Day weekend in Baltimore. Hey, I just said that. Bob and Eve will both be at that and be presenting on the National Capital Area Skeptics Skeptrack. It's cool. If you're in the town, if you're around near the town, get your butt here. Go check out them and some other people. Some kind of Game of Thrones guy is here. I don't know. It's going to be really cool. I will probably be around on Sunday. I'm not entirely sure of my schedule yet, but they will be here and they're cool. So go see them. Also, this week there's a new Skepticality featuring the segment by Eve on Shakespeare's Skull and Barb Drescher, which is on the show, but she's awesome as well. She contributes to the Odds Must Be Crazy segment. So go check that out. It's a good podcast. If you're not listening to it, you probably should because it's cool. And anything else? Oh, reminder, no show next week because stuff and things.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
And you're lucky to get a week
Holiday
notice.
weekend.
Really, because
Yeah.
we're busy and sometimes it happens.
So our next show will be June 1st.
June 1st. Book time. Now, I don't have a book. For the first time in the history of the show, I don't have a book. I haven't even scrounged something because I was sitting here trying to find something, and I've been doing so much stuff this week. I hadn't even read much this week, which is big.
All right, enough excuses.
So, I'm sorry. Shame me, insult me, whatever you have to do. But these two guys are going to read something awesome right now, starting with Eve.
After that, she made ready to depart alone, and taking the gear and weapons of a man, she made her way to a place where there were some Vikings, and for a time she went roving with them, and called herself Hervard. A short while after this Hervard became captain of the band, and when they came to Soumsay, she demanded to be allowed to go up on the island, saying that there would be promise of treasure in the burial mound. But all the men of the company spoke against it, saying that such creatures of evil walked there both day and by night, that it was worse there in the daylight than in many other places in the dark. But at last she had her way, and the anchor was dropped. Hervard got into a boat, and rowing to the shore landed in Munarvaug at the hour of sunset, and there came upon a man who tended a flock. As one does.
As one does. I had this picture in my head of a hair bard, and it's like someone who plays music on their beard. Or
Hervard.
So not a hair bard, because that would be cool. You have like a group of hipsters playing music. Never mind. Tim, you got a book?
Yeah. The economic fundamentals of information on the internet are clear. The large fixed costs of production, e.g. printing presses, television studio equipment, disappear, as do the fixed costs of a delivery system and the marginal costs of paper and ink. Network effects become more important since the value you derive from a site may depend on how many users it has and how these users contribute to its operation. Despite these changes in production and delivery, many of the properties of information delivered via newspapers or television also apply to the internet. Content creation can still involve the fixed costs of investigating a story and learning what has transpired over the course of an hour or a day. Attention from consumers remains scarce.
Liver warning. This product contains acetaminophen.
I've read that one.
Daily dose of this product is 6 caplets.
I have read that.
I'm just going to stop there. What's your book, Eve?
It's Hervarar Saga og Haedrix, or the Saga of King Haedric, translated by Christopher Tolkien.
Is he related to the other Tolkien?
His son, yeah.
Ah, cool.
His son,
Tim.
right?
Yep.
All the news that's fit to sell.
Huh.
How the market transforms information into news. I think I've probably read something from this book before.
Who's the author?
So sue me. Oh, James T. Hamilton.
Okay. Is he affiliated with something I should know?
He is the Charles S. Sidnor Professor of Public Policy, Economics, and Political Science at Duke.
No. Okay. Nope. Mine was a bottle of pain reliever from Rite Aid.
Woohoo!
Yay, because it just happened to be sitting right here on the desk. And there we go. That's our show. Thanks for watching. And hi, Susan. Hi, Sharon. And let me put the music on. Virtual Skeptics is an introduction of what's going on about the Skeptical Humanities, myself, ICBS everywhere, at Alpha News. Our logo was designed by Sarah Mayhew at sarahmayhew.com, and our theme music is by Music 8 and Music Future.
as usual, thank you all